So instead of being like, no, I'm not available then, but like making it clear why a person is unavailable, what it's doing is sort of normalizing choosing your family over work or fun stuff. First off, people should be doing that, should be prioritizing that accordingly. But like if you are ashamed about it or you don't talk about it or you're not clear about the reasons, it makes it harder for people who are on the fence or not aware of that to sort of default or assume that like that would somehow be self-indulgent or unprofessional or weak or whatever. Okay, so their work-life balance is like, here's when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm at home, I'm at home. But I was thinking about how, it's like, you can walk into a guy's office and it's like more, like if you walked into a man's office versus a woman's office, let's say, and they both had children, I think it would be very obvious if the woman had kids and it's like 50-50 whether the men had kids, right? And we have an entry about this in June in the Daily Dad about how obviously there's boundaries and obviously there's private life, personal or professional life, etc. But that like sort of ending the charade that like you're not a parent, that you're sort of, like, the way people sort of hide it and don't talk about it, I think actually makes, even though the vast majority of people in a company or business, they're all going through the same stuff. They have all this stuff going on. By not talking about it, by sort of shunting it off to the side, I think you make it harder for people to make good decisions and deal with what they're dealing with. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like this shared secret or this elephant in the room that no one is addressing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I guess what I'm saying is that one service that a parent, especially at work, can, or a boss or whatever, can do is to talk about having kids and what it takes out of them and what they're dealing with. So it's not this like thing that everyone is individually, personally struggling with.
I interact with people who come into the store consistently, and they come up to me and they say,
"Where are your kids?"
That's originally what I thought of when you started talking about this.
Yeah.
Where they say, "Oh, where are your kids? Who's taking care of your kids?"
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone has ever once said that to you.
No.
And people who I have called out for saying that to me say that to me. I'm like, they have another parent.
Yeah, right.
Like, would you ever, like, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I understand that it's a way to, I don't know, have a casual conversation.
No, but the implicit assumption is that for the woman, that having kids is a sort of central part of their existence, and for a man, it's this other thing that they do, and right now they're doing something else, so they're like off the hook.
I'm at work.
Right.
My kids are not here.
Right.
It's Nunya.
Right.
Especially when you are not a person I know and whose kids are part of your existence.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm saying that men can help other men by not perpetuating that stereotype, by sort of shunting off that side of their identity.
Oh, that's what you were getting at?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay, so my kids exist in my life. This is how my day revolves around them. Mm-hmm. This is how sometimes I'm late to the office because my morning went a certain way. Yes. This is how sometimes I need to leave in the middle of the day because my kids have things. This is why I need to leave at a certain time.
Yeah, or I'll give you an example. Like someone we know got in this big controversy by calling out Pete Buttigieg for taking paternity leave, even though he was working the whole time, from what I understand. But I actually think that was great. I think if more men took paternity leave and then talked about taking paternity leave, it would make it easier for other men to do things like that.
I'm glad the cat got down.
Yeah.
Do you think that in the beginning of a thing that people say to me secondary to that is that I'm so lucky to have married somebody who parents at the level that you parent, or has the awareness of a dad
Yeah.
that you have.
Yes. Which isn't, one, I would say not always been true. And two, sort of a
Like,
patronizing,
yes.
yes.
Not to put those people down, because I am so lucky.
You're very, very lucky.
But I think that if people see you that way, and they see that you have functioned at the level that you function as a parent to be able to write this book or to whatever, rather than you writing this book as part of a way to better yourself and to be a better dad.
Right. Which is actually how I've been talking about it. I'll give you an example. Like,
Can I get to my point?
no. Kate.
I'm going to lose it if you
Yeah,
interrupt
definitely
me.
won't. All right, what?
But then it makes it a little bit less accessible. Like, I think that in the beginning of your parenting journey, you wouldn't have been that dad.
I remember with Casey Neistat. This is right around when we were thinking about having kids. I was like, hey, do you want to do something later or whatever? And like, if he'd said, no, I'm busy, right? That's like sort of one answer. But he would say something like, no, I'm busy. I have to be home in time for bath time or whatever. Or he's like, no, I take like the kids to school in the morning. Like, so instead of being like, no, I'm not available then, but like making it clear why a person is unavailable, right? What it's doing is sort of normalizing choosing your family over work or like fun stuff, right? And first off, people should be doing that, should be prioritizing that accordingly. But like, if you are ashamed about it, or you don't talk about it, or you're not clear about the reasons, it makes it harder for people who are on the fence or not aware of that to sort of default or assume that like that would somehow be self-indulgent or unprofessional or weak or whatever.
Conversely, now, I think we sometimes call people out who do the opposite.
For what?
We're like doing things when it's like, why are you never home for bedtime?
Yes. Well, no, I see people like post all these. Well, one, I think about it in two instances. When people tell me like all the movies they watch, like in the theater, I'm like, when are you doing this? And then when are you going to the movies?
Right.
And then also, they're like, I saw Top Gun in the theater 3 times. You went 3 times to see the same movie, and you're not 22 years old.
And then you have like,
But also like when I see like vacation pictures, or I mean like travel pictures from people, and I go, you were just gone for like 2 weeks. That's sad. You know what I mean? And you weren't like, I do sometimes. I go, where don't you like your kids? But I don't think the answer is always yes.
look, I'm not saying we have the best balance,
No, definitely not.
but
I think if you talk about it, it makes it easier for people to either compare and contrast, or to feel sort of inspired or compelled to make better decisions. There's a story, I don't know if it's in the book, there's a story about Greg Popovich where Mike Brown, who's now the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, he was going through a split with his wife, and so he had the kids for the weekend. He's trying to take them to the airport to put them on the plane to go to where to meet their mom, and they're having a hard time. And so he calls Greg Popovich and he says, hey, can you hold like the team plane for like 5 minutes? I just need like 5 more minutes to like settle this with my kids. And Greg Popovich is like, just be with your kids, like meet us in the city, it's fine. And he goes, no, they're just having a tough time. I need like 5 minutes. And he goes, he's like, actually, no. If I see you on this team plane, you're fired. And he's like, what? And he's like, take care of your kids. I don't want to hear about this ever again.
Right.
He's like, if you try to make this team plane, I swear to God, you're fired. Right. And I think about first off, the grace of what is supposed to be a very hard driving employee in a very cutthroat industry. But then I think about like the example that is setting across the organization, and for parents in general, which is like, put your kids first. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, the space that's creating,
Right.
and that's what sort of, that's not just like what a culture in a good organization is about, but that's also a really good example, especially for fathers to provide.
Right.
And so to create that space to talk about, first I have to be like, hey, I'm 5 minutes late, but I'm 5 minutes late because I'm having trouble doing something with my kids. And then for the other person to be like, this is a no-brainer. I can solve this situation in 2 seconds for you. And you're struggling with that decision, not because you don't value your kids, but you're worried that I will force you to make an impossible choice. So here, I'll make it easier, and I'll just make the right choice for you. That's so cool to me. And then usually it's like, you go now. That's like how
And then the kids would have been perfectly like, we're good now. And then you'd be like, well, shit.
Oh yeah, of course, right. Then you make it perfectly or whatever.
Yeah, I had a phone call yesterday, and I had like over prepped the kids about, this is the time that I need to be on the phone. This is the plan. It's an important call. I can't move the call. I need privacy for the call. And we had this entire thing in place. Mm-hmm. And because I am who I am, I had the time of the call wrong.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So we were in the middle of doing something else when the call came. So like they weren't ready. And then I was like a little bit scattered trying to get them situated.
You?
Someday I will be able to complete a sentence and maybe a thought, and it will not be in a conversation with you. And I was like trying to like pause them and wrap them up. And I was like, I'm going to reschedule this call to the time that I told the kids that it was going to be, because I'm in a position to do that, but two, I'm putting you on pause, not the kids on pause in this situation.